everyone, Tristan back with another video, and let me apologize in advance for the audio. If you hear any background noise, it's actually pouring rain outside, and I've got rain just hitting the windows really hard. So if you hear that in the background, that's what it is. In this video, I'm reviewing my favorite audio USB cable. It is the Supra audio USB cable by a Swedish company called Genving. It's actually made in Sweden, and this is it here. As you can see, the shielding, it's got a nice sort of pale blue color. And then you've got the 24 karat gold plated connectors right there on the edge, on the ends. The main thing about this cable that makes it so good is that they're one of the few companies that actually publish the impedance specs for the cable. And this totally adheres and is tested to the audio USB impedance spec of 90 ohms. And that's something that they actually publish. So most USB audio cable companies don't publish that, and who knows if they're even, the 90 ohm impedance USB audio spec. So that's one plus for this cable. The other plus is that this cable is not super expensive. So, I would consider it probably, a high-end. I would consider this kind of like a high-end USB audio cable in the way that it performs and it sounds and all that, and the build quality. However, it's not a really super expensive price. They don't have mass distribution here in the USA, so the best place to actually get this is going to be from the Supra distributor based out of Seattle on eBay. So I'll post a link to them on the in the description field. You can kind of check them out. That's the best place to get these because these don't have wide distribution in the USA. Here is the sort of box that it comes in. You can kind of see here. And here's the back. And let me just kind of read you what it says here on the back. It's again the Supra USB 2.0 cable, type A to B, high speed, high performance, high speed, a flexible cable with dual screens for the best RF pickup protection, one twisted pair for data and one twisted pair for power. So that's definitely something that you want in an audio USB cable where you have the power and the data, separated. Individual screens for minimal interference, low capacitance and efficient noise rejection, maintain signal integrity in long-run interconnects. PE insulated wires with correct 90 ohms impedance design. 24 karat gold plated shielded connectors. The connectors are molded to withstand tough applications and long-term use. High-speed data transfer up to 15 meters. It's USB 2.0 and USB 3.0 compatible. And it comes in many different lengths, all the way up to 15 meters. And I think there was one magazine, I think it was What Hi-Fi or maybe another magazine that has tested these cables for long runs. And you can actually run USB audio with the Supra cable up to 15 meters, I believe, which is a really long length. The USB audio spec is actually only up to, I believe, 3 meters. So this cable actually performs better than the spec in all the tests that I've seen online and that people have done. People really like this cable. The people who have bought them, there I think is a thread on HeadFi talking about USB cables, and I'll post that. I'll try to post that if I can find it in the description field below. So for USB audio, I don't think you need anything better than this. You don't need to spend a ton of money, and the main thing is you want really good RF noise rejection. You want the power and the signal to be separated, and you want it to be within the USB audio impedance spec of 90 ohms, and this cable fits that bill really well. And I got the 2 meter version just because I needed that length, mainly because I have a sit and stand desk that I can raise and lower, and I needed that a little bit extra slack, in my USB cable so that I'm not straining the cables when I raise the desk. But certainly don't get one longer than you need. The thing about USB audio cables and whether or not you're going to hear a difference is going to depend a lot on your system. You know, not all USB transceivers within the DAC are created equal. Not all DACs are optimized, you know, for their USB. So all that will, you know, play into consideration with whether or not you will hear a difference using different USB audio cables. For instance, I know like my Chord M Scaler and the Chord Hugo TT2 already have the USB galvanically optimized and completely isolated and all that kind of stuff. So changes that I make in the USB are going to be less in my system with that than maybe in a cheaper DAC. Also, if you have like some of the shit audio stuff with their newest USB implementation, that's kind of the same situation where the USB cable probably won't make as much of a difference because they're already optimizing the USB signal you know, within the USB transceiver that they use. That being said, if you want to kind of eliminate any USB problems within a USB cable, this is a good cable to use no matter what your USB, you know, setup is, in my opinion. And contrary to what a lot of people think, that it's just ones and zeros going through, it's just a digital signal going through the USB cable, that's not really the case. It's actually an analog signal going through the USB cable carrying the digital data. So if you actually analyze the signal going through the cable, it is in the high frequency audio spectrum. You know, that's what the signal going through the USB cable is. You know, so I know there's a lot of people saying a USB cable can't affect the sound, but in my experience that has not really been the case at all. They do affect the sound, and again, it will depend on your system to the degree that the sound is affected by the cable. So, you know, to that end, I don't really believe in spending tons and tons of money on a USB cable, but I do believe in getting a specific USB cable that is optimized for audio. And again, a lot of the ones that are marketed as being optimized for audio don't really publish their specs, whereas the Supra cable does. And so this is the cable that I really trust and that I like and that I stick with. I first actually heard about this cable because when Sony introduced their Signature Series headphone amplifier and DAC, they used this cable when they toured with that system, you know, to the different various shows and stuff like that. And then I did a lot more research and kind of found the Gen Ving Supra cable. In terms of the way that this cable looks, it doesn't actually look like anything special. I mean, kind of just looks a little bit like a, you know, cheapy cable maybe. You know, it's a little bit thicker than your normal standard like USB cable, as you can see. You know, so in some ways it looks kind of basic and maybe austere, but I kind of like that. You know, it's not something that you are really looking at very much because it's just plugged into your computer going into your DAC. But the main thing about the build quality is it's quite flexible, so I have no problems with it twisting or binding up or, you know, remaining coiled or anything like that. It's just got a very nice build quality. The connectors on them seem very nice and, you know, easy to work with. And if you're like doing multiple USB connections, like taking it in and out a lot and stuff like that, it's got an industrial build quality. So that's something that's very nice. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like the Blue Jeans cables in terms of for RCA cables. You know how like the Blue Jeans LC1 cables have a really nice connector that click in and out of the you know, RCA jack really easily and nicely and all that kind of stuff. With while it, you know, it holds really well, but yet there's no play in the, you know, connection and stuff. So that's the same thing with the Supra cable. So all in all, it's just a really good cable that I can really recommend for the price. And again, it is optimized for audio and engineered for audio, and they actually publish their specs. So that's something that I really like with regards to the Supra cable. So this has been my look of the Supra USB audio cable made by a company called Gen Ving. For pricing and availability, please see the description field, and for community and discussion, I will see you in the comments field. Thanks for watching, and see you in my next video.